Mars in Libra is a bit of a challenge. This placement may have difficulty with the after all assertion of its desires, of its needs, of its wants, of what it's after. It may have difficulty with the overall way of anger. Very, very civil with it. Very, very mature with it. Thinking that they are above conflict and aggression. Thinking that the way to go is to be balanced and fair and harmonious. And not to show their anger, but to repress it, to keep it in, to hold it in, to do all of this. They feel that conflict is an enemy, and they want to do everything they can to avoid conflict, to avoid all the messy things, because they know the messy things of conflict. They want to keep everything under lock and key. They seek to collaborate, they seek to bond in those kind of intellectual ways. But this is just scratching the surface. In this episode of the Cosmic Sky Podcast, I'm going to be discussing what it means when Mars, the planet of action and assertion and drive, enters the sign of Libra, and it's found in a person's natal birth chart. So if you like this, you can stick around till the end. So we're going through this placement in a lot of depth, a lot of detail. And if you like deep astrology videos, if you like insightful astrology videos, please subscribe. If you want to understand more about yourself with self-awareness, self-love, and authenticity, please stick around, because that's what I'm doing on this channel. I want to empower you through astrology. I want to free you through astrology. About being your most highest version of your authentic self. So then now, let us start out with the very, very beginning way of being right here and right now. Now, let's begin at the very, very beginning of it, of what we are talking about, in general, with what we're doing. So, the very, very first thing that we need to do is dumb it. That's ultimately what we are seeking for ourselves in our lives. Is a deep explanation. It's well worthy of that, aren't we? So, now, I'm going to get into the cliches later on in this episode as I sort of pepper the cliches in to this episode. But what I want to say is that you could say that Mars in Libra has a kind disposition, has a fair, really, really deeply balanced, really, really deeply harmonious disposition. It wants to be very, very loving and selfless and balanced and fair towards others. It wants to consider the other's needs and wants. It wants to put others before itself. It wants to be in others' good graces. Very, very social, social etiquette, social, uh, socially wise and intelligent and graceful sign with knowing how to behave itself in difficult situations, in challenging situations where you feel a lot of anger, where you feel a lot of frustration. You ultimately do feel very, very experienced in those kind of situations, and you're ultimately very, very wise when it comes to how to navigate these types of situations that do require a lot of grit and grace and a lot of, um, keeping it together and having good behavior, so to speak. So you could say that, Mars in Libra is, is, is really, really deeply kind and wants peace and harmony, and that's one way of putting it. But the thing is, it doesn't go out and just go full force in something, like achieve something like broom, broom, broom. Like, I've got this desire, I've got this ambition, and I'm just going full force towards it. I'm just putting all my direction, I'm just vroom, just going there, and then achieving it to the ends of the earth, and just with all this drive and ambition to achieve this desire directly and fastly and assertively. It is not the most confident sign. It's not the most, like Aries is very, very decisive, very, very confident in itself. It just goes out and achieves without a second thought, without needing approval or validation. It just does it. It just does what it wants on its own initiative. Mars in Libra is indirect when it comes to how it achieves things, how it addresses anger, how it navigates conflict. It's indirect. It doesn't go directly toward the obstacle. It doesn't go directly toward the target. It sort of moves around it, and it speaks in very, very passive-aggressive tones and ways of being. It doesn't easily show itself to be. It doesn't easily, show who it is. It tends to keep everything under lock and key, keep everything under a bushel, really, really hold in a lot of its feelings and thoughts and, and true desires just underneath that layer casing of what it's getting itself into. So, so that's certainly true about Mars and Libra. But then what's also true is that it feels a lot of pain. And this pain comes from not being allowed to be fully itself, not being allowed to be an individual, to express itself, to express its desires, to express its anger, to express its rage and its feelings of sorrow and sadness and devastation and feelings of lack, feelings of not being taken care of, feelings of not being nurtured, feelings of I need to get this anger out, but I can't because it's not going to be acceptable, it's not going to look pretty, others are going to reject me for it, I'm not going to be in the good graces of others anymore, I'm going to lose control of myself, that kind of thing. Really, really a lot of shame around being itself. This placement certainly comes in with that emotion, that state of being, and there's no exception from that. So, they may be focusing on, the little things in life, that they may be so sort of petty. Focus on those little tiny details that are sort of trivial, that sort of, digging up from the undercurrent, digging up from the underground, like the pomegranates in the underworld that you're just finally digging up and coming to the surface. Those little things get dug up and stirred up and dredged up into being. And they tend to really fixate on these little things, on these small little ways of being that come about, on on the little issues. I can't go into what those are because that's all relative to the situation. But they don't really focus a lot of their energy and attention on the big overall things. They may get very obsessive about these things. They may really fixate on a lot of these things, and they do this for no reason. They just are obsessed with the little things in life, and they they weren't annoying or bothersome. So what they do is they keep it together, and they keep their emotions in check. They keep everything put into one they keep everything in where they need to. So they keep all their emotions together. They keep all their emotions sort of tight inside of them in a really tight, constricted place. They don't let it out easily, and they keep everything together. They keep everything inside. They don't really express. They don't really express in a whole lot of anger and a whole lot of rage and a whole lot of displays of all this really heavy emotion. They remain poised. They remain that kind of a way. They keep their cool in situations. They don't allow their anger to get the better of them. They don't really express their anger directly, so they don't even do that. So they don't really straight out the long shots for the big fresh beats in the city streets and just hit their faces all over and then move on. Like, they don't do that. They keep it together. They really keep their ways of being in check, and they don't want to go far away from the casing of what all that would mean. So they keep so people with displacement may be afraid of their anger, may be afraid of their heavy emotion. They may be afraid of blowing their top and losing control of themselves, losing control of their own emotions. They may be afraid of letting their emotions get the better of themselves. They may be afraid they're going to just be so angry, be so frustrated, be so raging, and just boiling over, like they're afraid of they want to keep the pot on the stove with the water in the pot. They don't want the pot to boil over, because if that happens, then they're all dead in the water, so to speak. So they want to keep. They're afraid of becoming very angry, letting things out, being very ugly, and very uncivilized, very immature, so to speak, when it comes to expressing their anger and letting it out. And I think that the high road displacement needs to keep in mind is finding helpful ways of expressing their anger. Because they, Mars and Libra, I have a lot of compassion for you. You have to let this anger out in some way. In some type of way, you have to let it out, because otherwise it's just going to sit inside of you, and then at the wrong time, at the wrong moment, in the wrong way, it's just going to come right out of you, and you have no control over it. you have no control over it. It's just gonna, break free and lose control because it's like in a cage, and this anger is so afraid, like so driven to just break free, that's gonna break down the cage and just come right out of you. So, you need to express this anger and learn to assert yourself when you feel the emotion first, nipping it in the bud, and really, really expressing your anger and allowing yourself to express this in an assertive, calm, graceful way. And so don't worry, because you're already really, really good at diplomacy, social etiquette, civilized ways of expressing this anger. So don't you worry about, if I express this anger, others are not going to like it, because you have the skills, you have the ability to be tactful and diplomatic with this anger. So don't worry about that. But it is really, really important to be able to express this in healthy ways and let it out. So that is part of anger management, is not holding in the anger, but letting it out. Anger management is not holding in all that rage, but releasing it to some extent. Anger is a really, really primal, deep, angry ego emotion, that is like fire. Sort of runs furiously, runs wildly, and you have to let it out in a tamed way, but you have to let it out. You have to burn that fire. So, so there's this tight, there's this real, like, you just, like, like you close your mouth and you hold everything in, and you don't express it. You just, it's superficially peaceful, and it's really, really fake. It's really, really inauthentic, and it's not for your highest good, I can tell you that much. Where you just, repress and suck in all that rage and anger, and this is not healthy, because it's constipated inside of you. Just when you're constipated, you can't go to the restroom. You have to let it out, let it go. Let the stuff out. Just like anger, you can't be constipated when it comes to your emotions. You can't be constipated in that way. You have to let the anger be released from you, and allow it to be present within you, and allow it to be present in your life. So that is really, really important for you to understand. It is important to, you tend to, now let's talk about going after your goals for a moment. To support a break from the show, so to speak. So you go after your goals via collaboration, talking it out, partnership, getting, in relationships with others. And you can really, really easily persuade others of great things. You know how to, tap into their, emotions, and they're, knowing how to manipulate others, knowing how to, get others, because other people really, really well. You know how to, get along and bond in that kind of way with social skills. So, you can really, really tap into others and convince them of a lot of really, really, great things, as I said before, and really, really, yeah. So that ability to convince others, that ability to get into others' psychology and do that, deeply powerful. Now, So you can go after your goals. As I said before, I repeated myself. So now, anxiety can be, let's go back to anger now. So, anxiety can come about for you. You may feel a lot of anxiety because you're trying so hard to keep the peace, not rock the boat. If I express this anger, if I express this emotion, if I express this truth, then it's going to rock the boat. It's going to destroy the peace, destroy the harmony, and it's going to, not be right, not be civil, not be, and the thing is, what feels right to you in your intuition. And also, reframing your idea around conflict. Because, immature relationships are when you don't talk about the issues that need to be talked about and really, really voice your truth and voice your feelings. Not in fighting and anger, but in conversation, where you're assertively speaking your truth, and maybe there's a bit of a disagreement, maybe there's a conflict, but ultimately you find a solution at the end of the day, and you feel more connected to the person, because you've talked it out, and now you've really, really addressed your own feelings, addressed your own assertive desires, and and assertive truth and feelings that you feel a deeper sense of bond to that person now because you've talked it out. So there's this deep fear of rocking the boat, deep fear of causing disharmony. Have you remember it's Mars in Libra here that we're talking about? So they are going to be afraid of anger. Mars in Libra is incredibly different, and it's in unfamiliar waters, as opposed to Mars in Aries, for instance. Now, it may do the Kalancho things. So, it doesn't want to be aggressive or assertive. It does not want to show up in fighting mode. It doesn't want to, battle things out. Because, it doesn't want to be, they don't want to be in control of situations. They would gladly be subservient to the other person, let them take the role, let them take control, let them, rule the roost, let them be the one in control of the situation, really, really having the final say, really, really the one dominating the situation. They'd rather have excuse me. They'd rather have they'd rather have somebody else take control, take the reins of the situation and do all of that. So, they gladly let somebody else take control of the situation and assert themselves and hand the anger over to somebody else. Now, when they are really, really mad, they don't just go out and express the anger and big displays of rage and fury and just, rage like a tyrant and really let it out, assertively, aggressively, that kind of thing, they become still. They become really still. They hold in their anger and their rage. They just everything stops. Like they stop everything. They don't answer to you. Just still. Because they don't want to express that anger. They'd rather not express that fury and that rage and that anger. So, they, they, instead of expressing the anger and the fury, they, they don't want to lose control, so they just become still and become tense. Like I feel like they're deeply tense when it comes to their expression of anger. So, they sort of fume in a way. They kind of, have everything coming to the surface, and they could just let it out, but they don't choose to. Just holding everything in, leaving everything on the surface. So, and they can get around battles where fighting isn't the way to go. Easily speaking, they can get around battles where it's not okay to fight it out, to win the battle over, in that kind of a way. They can approach battles where they're not fighting, where they're not battling. But when it calls for directness in battle, directness in conflict, there can be a bit of a struggle with this, because if you're unfamiliar with what it means to be direct, what it means to be blunt and towards the obstacle in that kind of, like full-on way. So, they instead want to talk it out. They want to voice their opinions. They want to have a conversation, have a discussion, a fair relational discussion, to let these emotions out, to be able to not fight, but to just have conversations and win over the other person, and creating healthy compromises between them, creating a win-win solution, creating that compromise toward where a solution that works for both people involved, a solution that works for both individuals involved with what is going on. That's what they want to build for themselves, is a sort of relational dynamic where there is a sort of a bond, a sort of something together for them, something where they're compromising in very, very healthy ways with the other person, and they're getting along in that sense with what they're doing. So they want to work with the other person instead of against them. So they want balanced situations. They want a balanced, harmonious situation, and they seek peaceful solutions to conflict. They don't want to just have something working out for you, but then it doesn't work out for the other person. They want something which works out for both parties involved, and not just continuing to fight, but finding a resolution to that fighting. And they want to create a loving and supportive environment for people. This is very, very good qualities, as long as you're being true to your soul and you're intuitively letting this anger out by speaking to it and voicing it, or doing whatever you need to do to let it out. So You may achieve your goals with polish. You may really consider others' needs very, very well when it comes to what you're doing. You tend to not do things selfishly or just bluntly and brazenly, but thinking of other people in your quest to achieve your goals, achieve what you want to do, what you wish, what you need, what you desire. When it comes to going after these things, you don't just do things out of your reasoning alone. You understand compassion and prosperity. You understand, like, is this going to impact others in a positive way, in a kind way, or not? So you really consider that really easily when achieving your goals. Now, it's important to see all sides. It's important to see all it's important to see all different sides of an issue. Which you're very good at seeing all sides. You're very good at weighing everything out, weighing all the different perspectives and different points of view out. But then detaching from this, but then letting go ultimately. Letting go, detaching, and making a decision when you need to. And I think that this comes from letting go and detaching. I think it comes from just releasing the urge to just be an indecision and make the perfect decision. Like I think that it's perfectionism. Like, I've got to make the perfect choice. I've got to make the perfect choice that benefits everybody. But then when you detach, you are able to make the decision gracefully and honestly and decisively. So that becomes really huge for you. So you genuinely want harmony, beauty, and fairness in whatever endeavor you're putting yourself into. You want a solution where everyone's treated equally, where everyone's included, nobody is left out, where things are beautiful. And there's a lot of that involved. So, you want to work with others. You want to collaborate and network with them. You want to interact with them, because Libra is an air sign. It's about other people. It's about connecting intellectually with others and seeing the other perspective, and sort of valuing the other, and exchanging ideas and thinking of the mind, the rational mind. Well, that's all in air energy. And so that can be very healing for somebody who is in survival mode and thinking that they can be the only ones to do themselves. I've got to protect myself. I've got to create this fierce, aggressive image to keep myself safe. Okay, you are worthy of connection. You are worthy of, this desire to connect and to relate to others. And I think that there's this desire to, but this want to be fierce and aggressive, because you got accustomed to it, and this want to is like a need. I've got to do this, so therefore it blends with the want, but it's not your true desire. It's not your true wants. It's just your ego desires, because the ego wants to always is trying to protect itself and keep itself safe. But the soul feels safe regardless. Just feels open, expansive, loved, and safe, and it can really just be open-hearted and loving, and it naturally considers others because it does feel secure within itself. You and your soul energy when you do feel secure within yourself. So that is so important. Inner peace and inner security, you cannot underestimate those states of being. So, you naturally consider all the perspectives of what is going on. You naturally consider all the points of view, all of that, all what everybody's valuing, of everybody's thinking, and you find win-win solutions to these issues. And you find solutions that can work for everybody, as I said before. So, what you do, what you do must have beauty and equality inherent within it. It must contain elements of this. It must, everyone is treated equally. You sort of, keep it together, but you have a lot of anxiety. You sort of keep your emotions under lock and key, but your anxiety becomes at an all-time high because you're afraid of losing your cool. So when they do express their anger, when they finally let this out, it's so important to be receptive to them, to be open-hearted to them, to really, really listen to them, to really, really hear them out, to really, really accept what they're saying and how they're saying it. Being receptive to them and sympathetic when they let you know how angry they really are, when they're finally letting it out, when they're finally voicing it, as they are speaking under fire. They're speaking because they're just so angry that they can't just hold it in. They're just choosing to, at this point, they just held it in so long, but they're this angry that they're letting it out. At that point, you really, really want to get curious about it. You really, really want to ask questions. You really want to listen very, very deeply and respect and understand and honor where they're coming from, their emotional point of view, their own feelings, their own emotional truth about it. So that becomes really important. So then they hold in all their emotions and keep them locked away in the filing cabinet of their mind. I think I already covered this. They sort of hold it in, And so, they don't really want a whole lot of power. They don't really want a whole lot of, control and all this kind of thing. They don't really want a lot of this. They don't really. Okay, so what was I saying before? So, they sort of have a filter. They are filtered. They're really, really filtered because they want to let others take the lead of their own lives and of the situation. They show the acceptable, appropriate versions of themselves, and they store away the rageful and primal, real, authentic feeling parts of themselves locked away because it's not right, it's not kind, it's not this, not that. So they sort of people place them away with keeping their anger in. And Libra's learning that no is a full sentence. So, where they're where they keep these parts of them hidden in the shadows. So they have the freedom to want to step away, because that's what they want to do. Is they want to they're not obligated to fight in conflict. They don't feel this desire to just stay in it and fight to the bitter end and fight so hard and do all of this. They won't stay in it just for the sake of fighting. They will act if they think that it's right to act. If they think logically, objectively, that it makes sense to fight, then they will, they will act in a conflict if they feel they will participate and add something to it if they feel it's right to. Otherwise, they will just step away from it, not engage in the aggression, the anger. So they may, they may about growing and facing certain realities around conflict. That there's some tough realities about it that such as it's not, it doesn't end well. It doesn't end. It's bloody. It's negative. It's it makes divide. It makes the people disconnected from one another because it's all another. I don't have a speech impediment. Don't worry. They want to be bonded and connected in a sort of synergy with another person, and they feel that conflict, when exercised, keeps you from being like this. So there are some tough realities about it, that they don't have the time or breath to engage in, such as this, results in disconnection, results in the other person not liking you for having the conflict, which is not true, because in reality, conflict is a good thing. It makes you closer to the other person, and you are being authentic to yourself. You are respecting yourself, therefore you are being honest with yourself, you are being honest with others, and you feel more freedom, and there is an actual, real, authentic sense of peace and harmony, and not a false, superficial sense of harmony. So you may react very, very passive-aggressively to a lot of things. You may be very, very indirect instead of talking, speaking to your anger. You sort of may write notes of that anger. You sort of writing the notes of this anger out and showing the other person, or just going along with the other person, but in a way of fighting. So whatever your version of passive aggressive anger is, you generally show it. And you may understand others, sense of fairness, and others, how they view fairness, how they're all about fairness. And, you may, as through the reading, it said that you may lose, use it against others, use it to your advantage against others. So, you generally, as I said, want to talk it out, compromise, come together with others. And, the thing is, a couple of things here, is, not being so dependent, like breath, like food, like water, not being so dependent on the external validation when it comes to making decisions, not needing, others' approval or permission from others when it comes to making choices, that you are, that you are perfectly worthy to do what you want to do, and make choices and act because you feel that it's right. You feel in your intuition, in your soul, that it's the right decision to make, the right choice to make, the right, like you feel that it just is right, and that I should be making this decision. I should be taking this action. So therefore, make the decision and act according to your own desire, your own free will, your own intuition, in that regard. So that's what really needs to be kept in mind here, is not needing that to make the ultimate decision at the end of the day. So, you may get others to do what you want instead of directly coming at conflict. You may, you're sort of getting others to do what is in your heart, instead of, saying, I feel this way, and going at it in that kind of a way. So, you may be so hyper-focused, so hyper-aware, and so totally fixated on fairness and justice that you walk over and ignore and suppress all of your needs, wants, and desires that are personal, that make up the identity and make up the authenticity of who you are. So you don't want to, don't live a life according to others. Don't live a life according to what they want, because they're not you. They don't have your desires. They don't have your personal needs, wants, and so live a life according to what you want. What is true for you when it comes to what you really, really, what you, what do you want? What do you want to go after? What do you want to assert yourself with? What do you want to achieve? So this is about, allowing yourself to achieve that and receive that, with being able to have that. Allowing that you're perfectly worthy of having it. Like, I shouldn't have it, somebody else can have it. I'm not worthy of having it. Oh, I'm not deserving of having it. Yes, you're fully deserving of having it, because nobody else wants what you want. And so you should be, it has your name on it. You should be the one who should have all these things, and that you so want in your heart. So, really, really, being perfectly knowledgeable about that, and perfectly, self-aware about that. And I think that when you're self-aware of your own personal, what you want, and saying, okay, if I please others, then that is going to hurt me. That is going to, be very, very, hurting my identity. Just like, when you hurt others, it also hurts you, because it doesn't feel good inside of yourself. You don't feel good inside of yourself when you hurt others. It's not, if you have a conscience to you, then you don't feel good, and it feels with yourself when you hurt others. So in the same way, when you just please others, with doing what they want and being able to just have what they want you to have, and living life according to what they want, then you are hurting and sacrificing yourself. So that's not what you want to achieve. You can be very, very mature. You can be very, very, veteran, incredibly experienced and around conflict, and knowing that all bad and ugly sides to conflict. You know all this very, very well. You're very, very mature in this, so you want to rise above conflict. You feel like you're above conflict. You don't want to engage in conflict. You don't want to participate in the conflict. You don't want to be a part and play a really, really huge role in just acting out that conflict. And you sort of view conflict as immature. And you seek to become mature by becoming better than conflict, seeking to rise above conflict, rise above anger, rise above aggression. But when it comes to rising above conflict, you want to go at conflict in a calm and graceful, diplomatic way, which you're already good at, but allowing your emotions to see at the table. Perfectly worthy to feel, you're perfectly worthy to express in healthy ways, and you can, let this anger out. It's perfectly okay to let it out, and assert yourself and say, I feel this, and I want this, and I have these desires and all this. So I think that we can be transparent about this and honest about this to the other person. Then that can really, really help you out a lot in your life when it comes to feeling more peace inside of yourself, and not having to hold everything in and be totally tight inside yourself. So that is the mature expression of Libra energy, is coming at conflict from a healthy way. It's very, very immature, actually, to, like, when you are fully mature, you show that you love yourself. That is what it means to be fully mature. And fully mature is to do the right thing that feels intuitively right for you, to voice your anger, to assert yourself, to stand up for yourself, to advocate for yourself, to have conversations where you are, expressing this anger, and we're through that conflict. Conflict is a good thing, actually, where, again, the connection deepens, the true peace and harmony deepens. If you are so about peace and harmony, you have to look to the opposite sign of Aries to allow yourself to be in your emotions and be in your authenticity. That is going to be a huge life lesson. And if Libra sucks everything in and holds all their emotions in, doesn't speak to things just to rock the boat, then that Libra individual, Mars in Libra in this case, is not yet matured. So now I'm going to end this constant video. This has been a deep dive and discussion on Mars and Libra. This has been about almost an hour's worth of information. So I hope that you found insights and valuable takeaways from this episode. I will see you back tomorrow, where I will be discussing, I think that I want to talk about Mercury in the sign of Leo in the birth chart, actually. Where I'll be talking about that in depth, what it means if you have Mercury in the confident sign of Leo, expressing things from your heart and communicating in that kind of a way. What it means to be very, very, heart-centered and expressive. So I do want to talk about that tomorrow, on tomorrow's edition of this. So, hope that you enjoyed. Please subscribe to my channel. Please like this video. Please do all this if you like this content. If you're on a spiritual path, if you want to love yourself and, again, be self-aware through astrology, and be authentic through astrology, then please subscribe and please stick around, because more content will be coming to your neighborhood very, very soon. And you can also enjoy the offerings that I already have had to give on this channel already, because there's a lot of videos on this channel that you can help yourself with enjoying. So help yourself to all the buffet of videos on this channel. It's totally free for you to do. And anyway, bye for now, everybody. Take care.